Guys, welcome. It is me, Trey Rowland. I am here with Kevin Little, and we are just smack dab in the middle of transfer portal season. It's been a committapalooza for Florida State and Mike Norvell. The Seminoles they've put together with some trepidation at the beginning in that first wave. I feel like they put together a nice little quality class here, and we're going to break down the game film of every single one, obviously presented by Knowles 247, the best Florida State news and infotainment site that's ever existed. Today, we're going to be talking about 5'9", believe it or not, 175-pound running back, sort of, from Indiana, the transfer Jaylin Lucas. He is the younger brother of Ja'Kai Douglas. And Kev, before we start to get to the stats and the film, what do you think about this prospect, dude? He's got some burners.
Yeah, so I think when you're looking at him, he plays a lot like Ja'Kai Douglas too. I think he's a little bit more agile than maybe Ja'Kai is. I think he's more of kind of a scat back, and Ja'Kai has that in his game, as you can see when he was playing Wildcat quarterback. But they're very, very similar players in my mind. But he's someone that brings speed to the field, and speed that has shown to be applicable to Power 5 Division I football. And so speed never hurts.
And this was a kid, because of that size, it's one of those deals of how would that really, really tantalizing speed translate to Power 2 football in the Big Ten in Indiana. And it translated marvelously. He was a Big Ten freshman All-American as a kick returner in his first year of playing college football. While he was there, he played in 23 games at Indiana, 8 starts, most of those starts happening this year, his true sophomore year. And he accumulated 2,052 all-purpose yards, 1,100 of those for kickoffs, but 546 on the ground, 329 through the air. And only the thing that's going to be interesting with him, obviously, the kick return stuff you guys are going to watch. We're going to show you a highlight of it. It's electric. The kid's speed is otherworldly. His cuts, his ability, his agility, it's very nice. But I'm interested to see, he only had 14 punt return yards at Florida State. I want to see if we're going to bring him in there and try to get him to utilize that ability here at FSU. Maybe Yak is going to bring out the super soakers and blast him in the face. And then voila, you have like an All-American punt returner as well. But just how it's going to translate in the offensive game. I know we've got some stuff. They used him out of the backfield. He's listed as a running back athlete, but he was Indiana's Ja'Kai, right? So they were used in much similar the same way. And we know Mike Norvell definitely knows how to get those guys touches, and very valuable touches. I would say this year he led the Big Ten, about 26 yards per kickoff return, and he was 11th nationally. And he was actually 8th in the Big Ten with 92.3 all-purpose yards per game, while also being a special teams guy. I just want to get to the film because I'm very intrigued by this prospect, because his speed really does jump out at you. We're going to be looking at film from a number of games. The Big Ten Network actually did a full highlight profile on him on YouTube, which is pretty sweet if you want to check it out. But Kev, let's get into the film, and you kind of tee this up and what we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, so they kind of used him more like Florida State uses Lawrence Toafili than Ja'Kai Douglas. Here he is kind of getting motioned in the backfield, just kind of getting the ball on the edge. You can kind of see his speed as the safety comes up, sees run, kind of just isn't fast enough. He kind of underestimates Lucas's speed getting out to the edge. That allows him to get to the corner. And I think this is something you might see in him. It's something you'll see in a Ja'Kai Douglas. Obviously, this is the kick return. I threw one of these in here just so you can kind of see it in real time.
Nobody even had a chance, dude.
Yeah, not even particularly close. And to be honest with you, I think his frame and skill set, just to play this back while I talk over it, fits kind of a punt returner better. He's really good in small spaces, but he does have the long speed, as you can see. But I mean, naturally, you would think longer striders for kick return, shorter striders for punt return. So maybe he is someone who could do both at Florida State.
I think so. We're going to see him. I think he's going to be involved in the passing game here. He's one of those guys, obviously, swing passes out of the backfield. As far as some things that may be a con, drop rates higher than you would expect for the usage. So he's going to have to clean that up, but just it's fun watching him play.
Yeah, I mean, here's a trick play, so it makes sense that he's open, but running back out of the backfield, out of the squads formation, Michigan kind of loses him. But, I mean, he's quick enough that the national champions couldn't recover back on this play in time to catch him, you know?
No, man, he's a lot more wide open than a Dunze was a couple nights ago. Ja'Kai Douglas is going to be there. Will be one of those plays this year with Ja'Kai Douglas throwing that football that we just saw.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty nice look. So here he is. Again, they used him out of the backfield a decent amount. Like he's very rarely lined up as a receiver, but a lot of his yards came as a receiving threat. So Lawrence Toafili like in that role, but obviously skill set kind of more similar to Ja'Kai Douglas. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him.
Where do you think in the Norvell offense, like what route combination is he really going to thrive? This is against Louisville. Is this film from this year, Kev?
Yeah, this is film from this year. And one thing that I thought was interesting about this was Indiana's game plan. First 3 plays were to get the ball in the hands of Jaylin Lucas. So kind of 3 straight sort of design plays to get the ball in his hand. And obviously they're just trying to get the ball quickly out to him. They feel like his speed and space, his agility was some sort of mismatch against Louisville. And they got a few chunk plays out of him.
That's nice.
I hope they use them for fun things like this. I mean, I think this is, a really great way to kind of get him out on the edge and kind of like from this point forward, this is a kick return,
Yeah. And he doesn't need much to hit the edge. And Florida State didn't really. Benson, once he got up to speed, he was one of the fastest players in the country. This kid doesn't need that kind of like charge up time. Like he's somebody that could attack the perimeter very quickly. And especially with the way that Norvell uses like wide receiver screens, him involved in the screen game is very like, I can't wait to watch this kid play.
Yeah. I mean, here's that acceleration. So he gets the ball out quickly. He gets upfield for a 15, 20-yard gain pretty effortlessly against a pretty good Louisville defense that Florida State experienced firsthand. I'm not sold how much we're going to see him on the offensive side of the ball. I do think he'll primarily come in as a return specialist in his first year, but I think there's room for him to grow into a role out of the backfield and kind of that slot tailback formation or position that Mike Norvell uses so much. So, and this is actually the closest to what I think you'll eventually see him in a Mike Norvell. I think they'll put him out in the slot a lot and try to get him one-on-ones with linebackers and safeties and run him downfield because Mike Norvell's a vertical guy. He wants to throw the ball downfield, and you can see he has that in his arsenal.
And he just gets behind that second level so quick, where I think that is something that especially with DJ Uiagalelei as the quarterback and all the other speed, we're going to be talking about some other speedy receivers. This little tease for you guys that Florida State has brought in. Team speed has been a massive focus. So if you think about all like the vertical slot stuff that Florida State did in the first couple of years under Mike Norvell, bringing this kid, an all-American return specialist type kid in that role with that like legit like 10-6 speed, that's going to help take the top off and leave some room underneath for Kyle Morlock, for DJ running the ball, and then for Keziah Holmes and Toafili and some of those guys. And I think it's a really nice fit, I think, for a guy who doesn't have a ton of like offensive production. I think that he's going to serve a very important role. What about you?
Yeah, I think he's just another tool in the toolkit. I mean, I think you saw what Ja'Kai Douglas was as a true freshman. The game against Notre Dame stands out. He had a couple big plays. He had a big play in that, 4th and 14 drive against Miami a few years back. And I think Jaylin Lucas is another option you can have. So say there's one slow-footed safety on a team, right? You put Ja'Kai Douglas at one slot, you put Jaylin Lucas at the other slot. Well, that slow-footed safety has to be on one of them, right? So it kind of gives you more options. You can put more speed on the field, and I think that's where they're going to try to go with it, right? So use them to find a matchup, use them to get put on a bigger guy, and I think that was something missing from the offense this year. They were, Ja'Kai Douglas wasn't super healthy all year. They didn't have that like speedy slot guy that had experience. Obviously, Destin Hill, I think they hope kind of becomes another one of those options. But this is a guy that has some proven speed. He's the but you're seeing it more and more with kind of how Kansas City has kind of used Pacheco and I'm blanking on his name before that, but just those little kind of electric slot wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's something to be said about having another one of these guys that can really be a threat downfield.
Well, I mean, the Dolphins, right? Like Tyreek Hill, Jalen
Tyreek
Waddle,
Hill.
like all those guys. Like there is size isn't necessarily the best indicator for production, especially if you can line them up with some bigger guys on the outside, like Florida State's going to have with Hakeem Williams and Kentron Portier. And like you said, Kev, we didn't really have a slot guy. We almost didn't really have like a slot position this year. It was all going to the outside. So I'm so interested in the same coordinator, like vastly the same coaching staff that's going to be coming back, how different I think this offense is going to look this year. And I think that this kid kind of gives you an in to the mindset of what we're going to see. Do you like the take overall as this take is kind of marinated on you, or did you just feel like, do you see the value in this take?
Yeah, I do. I think it kind of fits where they're going. I think it's interesting because you did see them loading up on bigger receivers, and that felt like a sort of compliment to Jordan Travis, a guy that wanted to kind of hit those outside guys, throw more to the outside of the field. And maybe you're seeing with a bigger quarterback, someone who can see over that line of scrimmage just a little bit better in DJ, someone who wants to hit those slot receivers. And I think this is a dynamic athlete that, they probably were able to get on some sort of a budget as he has ties to Florida State, and someone that I think they can use in a lot of different ways. Do I think he's going to, be the next Keon Coleman? No, but I think he's someone that
No.
adds value to the team as a take.
Absolutely. And even this is just all the kind of like hypothetical stuff for the usage on the offense. No matter what, if he doesn't play a snap on offense, the kid's already he's been one of the best, if not the best kick returner in the country every single year since he started playing like Power 5 football. So I can't wait. I think his film is fun. He's a fun player. He gets to him and the bro get to be back together, him and Ja'Kai Douglas. So I think that Norvell is going to find some interesting ways. And like throughout the season, there will always be like that one. Everybody kind of gets their turn in the Norvell offense based on matchup. I think there will be one game this year where it's the Jaylin Lucas game on offense, and it's going to rule to watch. And when it happens, Noles 24/7 told you first, to make sure to tell everybody else that. And of course you will, because you'll be on Noles 24/7 message board and all that stuff because you're a subscriber, because you want to know the best info there is. Kev, I don't really have anything else to say about this because you and I got a lot more transfer portal commits to talk about. Anything else you want to add on this one before we move on?
Nope. Hopefully AB will be joining us soon.
Oh, the big guy's absence. He is in a fierce January Delaware winter storm right now. And since his power is, I'm sure his house is powered by water wheel or something like that on the chicken farm, some sort of Pioneer Plymouth Rocks-esque electrical setup, he has no power. So he's not going to be with us for a couple of these. Don't worry. He'll be back. We know you love him. And we know that you guys are coming back to Noles 24/7 and coming back to us for all the portal commit film breakdowns. For Kevin Little, I am Trey Rowland. Thank you for giving us about 14, 15 minutes of your time. Keep chopping. We'll be back.